Yeah. This is with the inner circle.
Wow.
Thank you.
Incredible. That was fun to see live, man. I didn't know what you were gonna do. I loved it.
Appreciate it, man. Hopefully it came through okay. I know sometimes it can be wonky over virtual calls.
No, I think it came through perfectly. I think
Mm.
it came through fantastically, to be honest.
Amazing.
That was pretty fun, huh? So, Parker Kane, since perhaps some of the folks from the inner circle may not be aware of who you are and what you do, I like to ask some fun leading questions.
Okay, cool.
And so, my first question is going to require some thought for some people. Some people know it right off the top. A lot of times we get 78 birthdays here on the planet. What gets put on your headstone?
Ooh, I definitely do not know that right off the bat. um, I would say um follower follower of Christ and follower of passions.
I like that. Has it always been that way?
Not always for either of those. Um, maybe always for the Christ thing, just because I grew up religious, but I feel like I had to kind of become converted later on in life. Before that, I was more just doing what people told me to.
When do you think you became converted?
2015. I can
Really?
tell you it was October 3rd, 2015.
Serious?
Yep.
What happened?
That's the kickoff to the big story there. Do you want me to jump right in or
Absolutely.
Okay. So, to kind of take you with me there, October 3rd, 2015, I was in a small town in Idaho, Rexburg, Idaho. I was going to college, and I was in a very busy time in my life, with work and working a lot of jobs I didn't want to do. I was working as a CNA, literally wiping, old people's butts and doing stuff that was not the fun thing to do, and it was hard to kind of have that balance of college and then a really hard job for me. Um, but then also, I was studying something, nursing, which made sense for the CNA thing. But with nursing, I grew up my whole life thinking I wanted to be a nurse, being told that I should be a nurse. Grew up with a family that was a single parent home. It was my mom, and we did not have much. And I think she kind of instilled it in me in an early age to just get something that is like a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks, and so that's what I was after. I was wanting to be a nurse my whole life. Um, Full on giving it my best shot. I could never get higher than a C in any of my classes, and I struggled with school big time. So I was just in this really weird phase of not knowing what to do next, where to go with my life, and it kind of put me into a deep, over the months and years, deep depression. And on October 3rd, 2015, I wanted to take my own life. And during that moment, two things happened. One, I rolled over. I was on the floor, laying on the floor, crying, and I turned over to my left side, and I saw my dog. So, instant thought that came was, I can't leave my dog here alone. And it's kind of funny, but ever since then I've been super passionate about dogs, which I think I told you on our call a few days ago too. But and then the second thing was I was prompted to say a prayer, which for a long time I thought that was all fluff, and I didn't really pray normally. So I did say a prayer, and it was kind of my last prayer, like, hey, if I'm supposed to be here, show me. Show me that I'm meant to be here. Show me that I need to hang on one more day. Show me. And I ended up getting a call from one of my good friends. His name's Sean. I've been friends with him ever since. We still talk every single day. But I got a call from him, and he was inviting me to go out to McDonald's. And keep in mind, this was like 1 a.m. College. We're hanging out. We're gonna go to McDonald's. And for a long time, he had been inviting me to stuff, and I'd been saying no every single time because I didn't feel like going out, and I just wanted to be alone. So he invited me this time, and I said yes. I was like, okay, if I literally just said this prayer, this could be a sign that he's asking me to go. So as funny as it is, I went from a very serious moment to a very kind of lighthearted moment, just hanging out with all my friends in McDonald's. And being that I'm a beatboxer and my friends knew it, they challenged me to beatbox with a McDonald's cup. So I took the cup and the straw, and I could place my mouth over it and kind of do a thing where I'm beatboxing and moving the straw up and down, and it would change pitch. And my friend Sean, that same friend, he pulled out his phone and he started recording me. And he asked me later if I wanted that video, and I was like, "No, it's trash." It was such a looking back, I feel like such a jerk saying that, but I just was not in a good space, I guess. But yeah, when I was beatboxing, everyone in the McDonald's store went quiet. He pulled out his phone, but so did they. Most people there. Then they all posted it. My friend posted it, and his video, and he had like 100 friends on Facebook. It's not like he's a celebrity or anything. His video took off, got like 56,000 views overnight, and then by the end of that week, it was like 10 million views. It was absurd. It eventually, with all the celebrity shares across all the different platforms, it eventually got over 1 billion views before 2017. And so, oh, go ahead.
No, it's insane. Shad just actually made a good point. I'm gonna stop you there because I'm gonna pull it up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab it so I can share it with everybody.
Oh, nice.
I just think that's so rad. Man, I love that. So when you were, oh, let me go back out of here. There we go. There you go, Shad. That was just for you. And so keep going now. Keep telling the story now that everybody's heard the original big box that turned into the McDonald's commercial.
Yeah, so that video went on to get a lot of views, and then that was so after the video my friend filmed, that was the official McDonald's commercial that I got picked up to do. It's a really interesting call. I think it was like the senior vice president of McDonald's. They called me on the phone and told me, they're like, "Hey man, thanks for all the Coke sales." Because with the views of that video, it was like a free advertisement for them. So they felt like, okay, we got to give it back somehow. And They paid me to do a McDonald's commercial. They helped out with some of my student housing and stuff. And then at the time too, I thought I was gonna go be this big YouTuber, do music and beatbox full time, but I didn't really gain any subscribers. Instead, what happened is I started getting email inquiries all the time for speaking engagements and beatboxing at corporate events. So I was getting booked gigs to go do that. Um, and like I said, my friend Sean, he asked me if I wanted the video. I said no, and I definitely regret that now because that video took off. But it all had to be how it had to be. And just to go back to that night, October 3rd, 2015. I know that there was an answer. So that's a really long story to get back to your original question of, if I was converted from something specific, and that to me was an answered prayer. And that to me was kind of peeling back the curtains and showing me what is possible in life. And it was at a time where I felt there was no next step. So I've just been, even since then, I've gone backwards a lot and I've struggled a lot, but I got that peek into what life could be. And so it motivates me to constantly fight for that and more.
Big time. I love that, brother. Thanks for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
So I guess another question for you is, have you come full circle yet where obviously Sean reached out to you, had the insight to reach out to you, kept bugging you? Have you been that Sean for somebody else, and has whether it's your message or your music or your talents, has anybody come full circle yet and said, hey, because I heard this, fill in the blank?
Yeah, it's actually been, I'm hoping there's a lot of impact with this speaking engagements and podcast episodes and stuff, but the times that it comes full circle and you get to hear what happened, it's been very few, but there's a number of times. One specific time though, it's interesting, it actually happened before the video went viral. So if it's cool, I could still share that story, but it's
I'd love to.
okay. So it's again in that same college town, but I was out to eat with my friends at like a Chinese food restaurant or something, and this mom and her daughter walked in to get their table and food, and the mom came over to me and told me, "Hey, you don't know me, but before you leave, you got to talk with me and my daughter." And I actually, we were there for like an hour and a half. I ended up forgetting and started to walk out the door, but she ran up to me and was like, "Hey, seriously, you need to meet my daughter. And if it's okay," she pulled out a napkin and a pen, and she's like, "Can you sign this napkin, and can we get a picture with you for my daughter? We're gonna frame it." And I was like, "You guys know who I am? You think I'm like a celebrity or what is this?" And that daughter of hers, she was 9 at the time. Her name was Kiana. They were single parent household. They had like no money, and Kiana had like a certain kind of bone marrow cancer and was back and forth from Rexburg, Idaho to Salt Lake, Utah, for the primary children's hospital. And she was bound to her bed all the time. And her favorite thing to do at night before going to sleep was watch the music videos that my sister and I were putting up on YouTube. And they were cover videos. I would beatbox, my sister would sing. And that was when I had like like 30 subscribers or something. I felt like nobody saw this. And so that's kind of another angle too, is even when you're not viral, there's still a reason to put content out there that's good and stuff, and you never know who you're reaching. I got really lucky that situation was full circle. And then there's just been a number of times from podcast episodes that listeners have reached out in my Instagram DMs or something and have told me their stories.
I love that. I love that. Speaking of putting content out that goes viral, um, your one of your businesses is to create that content. Well, perhaps create's the wrong word, but to edit that content and to help folks get their message and their word out there with Canecast. So, do you ever struggle with that? I'm sure as you get a billion views and McDonald's calls you, there's a point where you're like maybe feeling like an imposter.
Yeah.
Do you ever struggle with that imposter syndrome? And if you did, talk to the folks out there that are like, I could never open up my camera, or my friend filmed it and it's trash. Like, what's your advice to those people that are going, I've got a great idea or a great business, but I'm my own worst enemy in the mirror?
Yeah. That's a really hard feeling to feel. And it's almost, I feel like I have something to say, but I know what it's like to hear what I say and then still shrug it off and say it's nothing. but but what I have to say is, to try to fight through that and just put stuff out, even if it's not perfect or even if you feel like an imposter. Um, the reality is, and I don't know how the exact quotes go for this, but there's a lot of quotes out there about how people don't care about us as much as we think they do, like looking in on our lives to judge us. We are our own worst critics, like you said. So it's that whole thing of people judging you, that's, I think we get too in our head about that. But then with perfect content, if you're like a perfectionist, that's something that I constantly struggle with. But even right now, I feel like I'm getting over it and at a certain level because I'm relaunching my podcast October 2nd. And by the way, that's by design. So I can talk about October 2nd, 3rd, the struggles I was going through. But
Okay.
um, yeah, I'm relaunching. And that was 2 years of podcasting that I could have been doing that I didn't do. And those 2 years flew by and I regret it. Um, just for context, I did that podcast every Monday morning for 4 years. And then when I got too busy, I stopped. And so it could have been a 6 year long podcast, but it's not. and yeah, so I don't know. You never have it all together. It's just a matter of showing up and seeing what opportunities come from it.
Showing up, I think that's 2/3 of the battle in this world, if that's not the truth. You mentioned follower of passions. Obviously, October 3rd, we heard your story. Follower of passions. I think there's a lot of folks that are listening, um, that want to be on an entrepreneurial journey and perhaps are juggling a couple different hats. Like, you know, if I'm supposed to make it on my own, why do I still have a W-2 job? I think some people get caught up there. So walk folks through like the actual, I mean, I can tell you on a handful, and there's people that we all know in this circle. We know guys that would give their kidney for a billion views. Um, I think Chase knows who I'm talking about. Um, and so now that you've been there and accomplished that, the top just gets higher. The summit just becomes deeper, right? The mountains just become bigger. And so walk folks through that entrepreneurial journey that, oh man, once I get to this place, once I get to the house, once I get to the billion views, I'll have made it.
Dang. I feel like that hits me because I feel, billion views. I was very excited when it was happening and when I was in that moment and like things were really rocking and rolling, which, I had gigs every week until COVID happened. And then I was, everything shut off and I went back to a W-2 job. And even right now, I'll be the first to say, like, I've got a W-2 job right now, but it's 6:30 at night my time zone, and I'm doing more right now. And even after this call, I'm going to do more with a photo shoot I just did and a website I'm building, and I'm really prepping the podcast launch and stuff. So it's about making time for those passions. But I will say, as someone that had that kind of view level, nothing really changed. I still am the same person. I still struggle with the same struggles, especially after all the hype. Like after all the hype, it was like a wave that I was riding, and then when the wave crashed, I was back in a spot of what do I do now? So there's always like a next level. There's always something. But as far as follower of passions, that kind of is connected to the faith-based concepts that I was talking about. But beatboxing, I started when I was 9 years old, and I was very, very interested in it. Is beatboxing my favorite thing now, and is it my thing that I'm focused on building right now? No. But I wouldn't be where I am or be interested in what I am interested in if I never started beatboxing. So I believe that we have a lot of passions and that we're all in different seasons. And the more you follow the breadcrumbs, so to say, like, and unlock different passions, the more you're just aligned with that purpose of life, where you're supposed to be in life. It's when you stop pursuing those things that you're interested in that you get in really dark places. And I really believe that um, following your passions is a calling from God. I really do believe that. If you're following those things, you're aligned with what He has in store for you. And if you're not following those things, you get real stuck.
Real stuck, right? I think that's a problem that a lot of people encounter. And I love that you talked about the wave and the wave crashing. For Parker and Chase, we talk about it on a daily basis. I think there's a part of the world out there that has created this idea that life should be easy. And, once I get to 1 billion views, it'll be easy. Once I get to $1 million, it'll be easy. I don't know if that's a social media construct or if that's kind of just the pace that we have decided to live at. But I can tell you, in my opinion, I think it's totally BS. I don't think that anything gets easier. I think that once you've reached certain summits and you have a depth of perspective, life becomes more simple. And so I'd be curious your thoughts on that, because you've ridden the fame wave, you've ridden the excitement, but it seems to me as you got to that summit, you were able to look back and say, okay, this is what I want to focus on now. These are the time and the resources. This is the energy I want to expend, and I want life to be simpler. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the word that's coming to mind for me is clarity. Like, it just gave me a little bit more of a direction, and the fact that, like, I still had to work for things and still had to grow and still go through the trial, like, none of that changed, but it just gave me a new pair of glasses, so to say. Because at the time, nursing student and job that I hated, still kind of in line with nursing, and no time and failing grades and no money and not going out with my friends. I was in a really just, what the freak do I do? I'm sick of this though. And I was stuck. I also wasn't really pursuing those music videos with my sister anymore. I wasn't beatboxing. I wasn't doing any passion project at all. Um, and when everything got clearer for me, it was when I was beatboxing. It was when I was presenting. Is when I was helping other people know to follow their passions. This kind of stuff right now fuels me. Like, I'm going to get off of this call energized and ready to do more. None of this existed in my life. And so just gives you that element of motivation and clarity.
I love that. I've got a whole host of questions, but I don't want to hog the microphone. Shad, I'm not sure if you're driving or where you're at, Shad, but you had mentioned follower of passions.
I
And
love that.
yeah, why?
I just think it's a powerful phrase. I feel, it's like you're being passionate about something. Obviously, you're gonna push yourself so much further than you normally would. So, following those passions and just making sure you're going the direction that most motivates you, I think is super powerful.
I love that.
Thank
Chad,
you.
are you following your passions?
I am. I truly am.
Good. That makes me happy. Anybody else have any questions? Anders, do you have anything for Parker?
Unmute, buddy. Unmute.
Oh, Travis put me on mute. I didn't realize. I don't have any specific questions. I think that I took a lot of notes. That was very impactful for me, especially at this point in my life when I'm starting to move out, find what careers I want to go into, just finding kind of how to take joy out of life. I think this was a very important meeting for me to be a part of, and so I appreciate it.
Actually, yeah, Parker, I'm kind of curious, right? So don't have a clue what a billion views looks like, right? But in business, every level, there's another level, right? You guys talked about that a little bit. Every level, there's another level, but with that comes a different set of problems. And I would imagine having a billion views, like I can't even imagine what kind of stuff comes out of the woodwork at you.
Yeah.
How do you stay focused and not let that stuff drag you down and keep moving forward to the next goal?
Yeah, thanks. And I just want to say thanks to the earlier comment too. That means a lot, and I'm glad it helped. And then with that, I have one specific struggle that comes to mind. That video went viral because it's cool, but it also went viral because I'm a fat dude at McDonald's. that went viral as one big fat joke. That every single comment was, making fun of me for my size, and well, of course he would be an expert at McDonald's kind of comments, and that it was a lot of negativity, but weirdly enough, and I don't know if I have an answer um for how I was able to do this, but I just didn't care.
Hmm.
I just didn't care. Like it rolled right off. It went right over my head. It was cool to see the positive comments kind of go at war for you, go to battle for you. So many people like, shut up, you couldn't beatbox like this, like just huge, just comment fights and stuff. But really, it wasn't about any of that. I was focused on, okay, I've got this thing to build credibility. I've got this thing that I can brand myself as now, and I can make it as awful or as cool as I want to. And I don't really care what, I guess, all the negative people were saying. But even with that, there's like an element of self-awareness though too, because like I know that I'm a big dude in McDonald's. It wasn't anything new, and so I was like, good one. But yeah, it just, what was that?
It's still their power, right? When it doesn't hurt you.
Yeah, and the thing is, on the internet anyway, it was still helping me. They probably watched that video multiple times, probably left multiple comments. You times one bad person by a million bad people, it grows exponentially, and they don't realize how much they're actually really helping.
That's awesome.
I got a
But-
question. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, could you like kind of re-ask the question? Did I cover
Oh,
what you were going for?
So with all that, like what was like, is there one thing that kept you moving forward? Is there one, like after you got a billion views, I imagine more people came out of the woodwork wanting a piece of you, like managing that and keeping your focus on what you're driving for.
Yeah. Two things come to mind. One, I learned to say yes to every opportunity, even if it meant I was going to be really busy and tired. I said yes to everything. And the other big thing is I realized how I was helping others. That was huge for me. Like I was now beatboxing at an event, talking at an event. I did 2 different TEDx speeches, and in both of those, there were people in the audience, not everyone, but I could spot different people in the audience that it was just like the eye contact was there, the feelings were there, they were crying. Then they'd talk to me after and they would tell me their story. And, I felt a lot more like I could just relate to them, which, by the way, also gave me a different perspective as an audience member that not all presenters are like some perfect expert. Like I was definitely not some perfect expert. I felt like just like any of them. But yeah, the impact that I was having on other people, the ability to help other people, and then saying yes to every opportunity. That's what I guess just kept things going.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I got a question. So at this, one of the things that I'm passionate about is trying to figure out how to elevate conversations in my family's life. I got 4 very little ones. Most importantly, like my boy, he just turned 12. And so I have the opportunity to take him and his buddies to school each morning. And we usually listen to like Jocko or Jordan Peterson and I'm just hopeful that like that 15 minutes in the car actually resonates with them one day. And it was kind of funny because I guess funny is probably the wrong word. It was neat because as you and I were communicating about this night, my wife's got you pulled up on the TV, and Brock knows who you are, of course. Like all the 12-year-olds in town know who you are. Like, you're this celebrity, right? And so it was interesting for me, like, wow, what an impact somebody like yourself can have over something that might be viewed as simple, right? And so now that I framed that conversation, talk for a moment, if you will, to Brock when you know what he's going to go through in another city, lying on the floor at some point, most likely crying, most likely struggling, figuring out where the heck he fits in. All of us, majority of us, except for Anders on the call, all of us have kids. And so I think that's something that's heavy on our mind. When it comes from a third party, sometimes it hits differently or hits more appropriately. And so knowing that our boys are going to lay on the floor, they're going to cry, they're going to struggle, they're going to have tough times. What's your advice to that generation that doesn't get enough tough love to begin with? How do you get through?
First and foremost, I am not a parent, so I feel like I have a hard time envisioning what that would feel like, but I'm trying. I do feel like it's cliche to say this, and it sounds fluff. Like I said, I know, um, wanting to push away the fluff. That's how I've been almost my whole life. But 2 words: hold on. There's always something tomorrow, and there's going to be more challenges. There's going to be more more good things, more blessings, more opportunities, but you don't know if you're gone. You can only take advantage of that stuff if you're here holding on. And this actually fits really in line with something I'm building right now, with this podcast relaunch. The podcast, its name is Upbeat. And the reason it's called that is because I was trying to combine, beatboxing and music terms with something motivational and cheerful. And for 2 years, I was stuck on what to do with it. But I now know that its mission is, one of encouraging people to hold on to whatever it is, holding on to their values, holding on to the next job comes, holding on to the next day, whatever it is. Be upbeat is that next holding on, that reminder that we need to hold on. So I'm trying to figure out a more clever way to be able to communicate that to people that isn't going to be received in such a cliche way and fluffy, but That's really what it is. And there's no one that can, and this is why I feel converted from that night too, but there's no one that can talk to you that's going to get you through that other than a prayer and other than yourself. Because I'll tell you right now, I love my mom, and in that moment, I would not have called her. I would have not called my mom, would have not called my friend. They had to reach out to me. It was just me and a prayer and whatever could kind of prompt me to keep going.
Did you ever ask Sean why he kept bugging you? And did he ever feel on the other side of that conversation? Was he just like a genuinely good dude, or did he feel prompted?
I think he felt prompted, and I think he could tell. His and I's story is kind of weird. I think I told you the other day, we actually really hated each other at first. And it was through kind of accidentally becoming roommates with each other that we became best friends. Um, but at that time, yeah, it's kind of just brotherly, I guess, where he wasn't always like super positive, and to be honest, he wasn't the greatest influence a lot of the times, but he was there, and he encouraged me to get up. So, and I do think we need those people in our lives that can tell us to get up. So, and stick with it.
Definitely. I love that. Anybody have any questions? I've asked all of them, so I apologize. Anybody have anything they want to ask Parker about his journey? What's next for you, Parker? What's on the horizon?
This podcast and building Kane Cast, that podcast content production stuff, and hopefully being able to leap from my 9 to 5 W2 job that I'm still at every day. That's the big one there. Also, I'm trying to get better at um, my social life and like finding friends and going on dates, things like that. That's all pretty much just at a deadline for me right now.
Isn't it funny? You wouldn't think with a billion views it'd be a difficult thing to have folks hitting you up left and right.
Yep. Yeah, no, I just have my coworkers and my mom, and whenever I do stuff like this.
I love it. There's a Napoleon Hill has this comment, and he says every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. And I think that a lot of times, while folks are going through the struggle, while they're laying on the floor, going through the adversity, they don't really water that seed, and they look at it like they need to stay away from that seed. And I think what's cool about when you stand around the water cooler of life, whether it's these podcasts or real life where people are discussing real conversations, it oftentimes always goes back to like a form of adversity. How did you get through this, or what can you teach me from that? And rarely do you ever talk about the sports games in life that were blowouts, 45-0. We all are looking for the Super Bowl. That's like a nail biter through the fourth quarter. And I think that's no different than our life, where if you're really trying to dominate, if you're really trying to make a difference, you're going to have to water some seeds of adversity. You're going to have to sow some difficult times. And I think what you've communicated to us is fantastic, that number one, reaching out to those folks that are inside your inner circle, being a person who knows the needs of your inner circle, but then most importantly, like looking upward, following your passions, following Christ. I think that's what you stay focused on, and the path becomes a little bit clearer in front of you. So I'm grateful for that big time. If nobody has anything, Parker, I would love you to take us out with a beatbox of your choice. Does anybody have anything for Parker, or are we just going to have a beatbox?
I just want to say thank you. Like, taking the time to join us, Parker, being able to hear your words, super grateful. for the way that you lead with service and gratitude. And your story, man, changes lives. And I'm just appreciative that you took time to share it with us.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. It's kind of a weird balance, you know, suicide and going to McDonald's. but I try to be able to communicate it clearly.
That's I don't know the last time I was at McDonald's, but if I find myself, my little Kennedy actually for some reason likes those freaking hamburgers. So I don't know if I'll ever be able to go there and look at it the same again. I'm gonna try that thing with the straw.
Yeah. Well, and if you guys want, I can teach you how to beatbox real quick. It's like a 1 to 2 minute thing, just if you guys want to learn.
Dial us in, bro. Let's do it. This is a
Yeah.
new one.
All right. So, and I didn't really cover this part of my story, but the way I got passionate at beatboxing was following NSYNC and Justin Timberlake in the 90s. And I was a 9-year-old kid and I was trying to do what Justin Timberlake was doing. But as I mentioned earlier, I had really bad grades almost my whole life. And in school, I was the distracted one writing in my notebook all the time. And I learned that beatboxing just was like different ways of pronouncing words and letters. And you know how you kind of manipulate your mouth, for lack of better words. But you've probably heard of the boots and cats thing. The boots and cats and boots and cats and that thing. So I did that a long time before boots and cats, but it was just letters. And for me, it was the bass, the was the letter P. So just when you try to pronounce the letter P, it's and then the hi-hat is the letter T. And the snare is the letter K. And so I would sit in school and I would write out different patterns of PTK in order to create whatever rhythms I want. So the basic one that would be like boots and cats is PTKT, which is which is the same thing as boots and cats, but you could change it up. PTTKT. And then kind of an advanced when you're ready for it or when you want to let your kids know about this, which just beware if you do, you'll be a little bit annoyed for a while they try to get this under wraps. But the name Chewy, like Chewbacca, Chewy, if you whisper that, it becomes a vocal scratch. So I would do PTK Chewy, and then just change it up from there however I wanted to. When I got really good, it was like that was all just the same thing, just sped up and a lot.
That's incredible. I love that.
Thanks.
That's incredible. I love that. Okay. Take us out with a little inner circle beatbox.
All right, cool. Thank you. Inner circle.
Man.
Thank you.
Well done, brother. Well done. I appreciate your time. Like Chase said, I think your story is moving. It's powerful. Like Chad said in the comments, you're just a genuine dude. And so I'm hopeful that getting your story out just changes the lives of those people that are looking for that little bit extra motivation, the reason to be here. something that they might just think is goofy, or a friend that called them, or maybe it's their turn to be the friend that calls. So grateful that we crossed paths, brother. It's not going to be the last time. So continue to do what you do. We love you. We appreciate you.
Thank you. And yeah, thanks, Shad, for that compliment. And yeah, follow your passions. I know it sounds cliche, but there's something for everyone, and the more you unlock, the more you find. Passions will evolve with you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Parker.
Thank you.
Have a good night, guys.